Alrighty, Brick Aramella here, the Drone Pilot Pro, and today we're going to talk about the better drone videos. I almost forgot what we're talking about today. I've been doing so many live streams. Alright, so we're going to talk about better drone videos. I don't have a slideshow presentation, it's just going to be me talking today. Thought it'd be a little easier that way. And let me just put this, see who's on the live stream. Okay, so I'm going to talk about three ways basically that you can get better drone videos in less than 1 week. Okay, now normally when I make a video, it's just you watching it. Okay, you enjoy the video, you don't do much, maybe you do much. Okay, this video you're gonna have to take action. You're gonna have call to action, you're gonna have some homework, so to speak, for this week, because you can't get better in less than a week if you just sit on your couch. All right, so I'm gonna give you 3 actionable steps that you could do to get better drone videos, get more cinematic drone videos. Okay, so number 1, first thing you have to do is determine the time of day you want to shoot. So for the next week, when you go out and shoot, what I want you to do is to shoot at different times of the day. Now what I would recommend is you shoot between around sunrise or sunset, so within an hour of sunrise or sunset, then about an hour and a half after sunrise or an hour and a half before sunset, and then about 2.5 to 3 hours after sunrise and 2.5 to 3 hours before sunset. These are personally my favorite times to shoot, and also I think these are great times to shoot with a drone, because most drones, I mean this is the Mavic 3, it has a bigger sensor, but most drones don't have a huge sensor, so during the middle of the day, the difference between the really bright parts and the shadows sometimes can be difficult. So I like shooting, really, I would say it depends on the job. If you want a more cinematic, you know, that like called a golden glow type look, shoot around golden hour. But really, like real estate and other projects, I shoot about an hour and a half to 3 hours after sunrise and an hour and a half to 3 hours before sunset. Okay, so time of the day is very, very important. That's your first thing, to shoot the same shots but different times of day so you can see the different looks, how the light looks. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're shooting at these different times of day, there are actually 3 things to look for in the light. Okay, so you want to look for the light quantity, the quality, and the direction. Okay, quantity, quality, and the direction of the light. Okay, so the quantity is pretty easy, the amount of light that's coming forward or on your subject. Okay, so if it's coming from behind, it's probably more quantity than if it's coming towards you. If you're shooting a house, a building, if it's coming in this direction, it's going to be less towards you. Okay, it's also direction. What angle is it coming from? Okay, and then the quality of the light. I told you to shoot at different times because the quality of light is different at different times. All right, Fly Guy Merrill's here. Good to see you. Good to see you. So shooting at different times, you get the different quality of light. Okay, so that's really important to think about. As you can see, even right now when you're looking at me, you could tell the direction of the light is coming from this side. And one way to do it, you could just hold up your hand. If you turn your hand, you could see there's less light when I point my hand in this direction. So I know the light's not coming from that direction. If I turn my hand, I can see it's getting brighter. So the light is coming from this direction. You could also see the shadows right here on my face. That's a good indicator. So the same thing when you shoot, you could always hold up your hand, just turn it, and you can tell where the light's coming from. If the sun is hidden and you're not exactly sure, cloudy day or so forth, you can tell. So those 3 things are important. Now, The other thing with light is I would shoot also 3 different ways. I would shoot with the sun, okay, so the sun's at your back, shooting forward. I would shoot into the sun with the sun facing toward your drone. And then I would also shoot with the sun at a 45-degree angle, so in the corners, okay, and see how that looks. Okay, so those are 3 ways to shoot, or 3 directions, okay, with the light. And you're also shooting at different times of day to get the different light quantity and the quality. Okay, so that's the first thing you got to do. I know there's a long first step, but it really helps out. If you do this and you really look at it, take home the footage and look at it, I'll show you what you're going to do with that at the end. So let me go to step number 2. All right, step number 2. How we doing? We got Gene Tree Drone. How's it going? Gene Tree Drone. All right, and Flaggate Merrill. Good to see you. So the next one is, if you guys have questions too as I go along, just put them in the chat box. I'll do my best to answer them. All right, next one is the different altitudes. So you're going to want to shoot at different altitudes. So not just shoot low and shoot high, but what I recommend for this step is when you're shooting, when you're going lower, try to fly by objects really fast, or try to move in different directions with objects in front of your drone. So as you're flying your drone, okay, the different objects that are coming in front of your drone, you're going by your drone, get close as possible to the object without hitting it, okay? And see how that looks. I think you'll really be surprised at the results. Fly really close to objects without hitting them in different directions, and I think you're really gonna like it. Then do the same thing but fly above, and you'll notice a totally different feel and different look, okay? So this is your second thing that you have to do. All right, so the third thing that you have to do is, when you're flying, you're gonna go through basically 3 different levels, okay? So the first level of flying, when you have your controller here, you're going to just use one stick. So it could just be a basic movement. You're just going up, okay? You're just going down. You're just going forward. You're just going backwards, going left, right, okay? Just with one stick. So that's a fairly basic way of doing it, a very easy way of doing it. You're just using one stick, okay? Then what you want to do is you want to take it to the next level. So that's sort of like a beginner level, but really sometimes the beginner level shots look the best. So just because it's a very simple move doesn't mean it's not the best move, okay? But we want to improve our skills. We also want to have all these different shots in our repertoire, so when we have a shoot, we can go to those shots. So the next one you want to do is you want to take 2 sticks. So as we're moving forward with the right stick, we're moving forward, and then we want to take the other stick and move it in a different direction. All right, so now your drone is going in, it's going forward, and then it might be turning, okay, or it might be doing something. It might be going up and turning. Maybe turning like this, doing kind of like a parallax. All right, so we want to use 2 of these simultaneously, or we can use one of these and also use the gimbal dial to put our gimbal up and down. Okay, we have a question here. I have a question. What do you think of filming at higher frames per second, such as 50 frames per second or 60, regarding the rule of third? Do you think the quality could be better? I know then usually normally at 24 or 25 frames per second. Good question. Yeah, what I normally shoot at, sometimes I shoot at 24 or 25 frames per second. Yes, I do understand what you're saying. Oh, all the way from Switzerland. Wow. Wonder what time it is there. It's only 9 o'clock here, so. So John Tree Drone from Switzerland, what you want to do is, yes, you can shoot at 24, 25 frames per second. I think in Europe it's 25 frames per second. In the US it's 24 frames per second. And that basically, that will give you that film type of look. It's great because you can shoot usually with your drone at a higher resolution. However, I usually shoot at 50 or 60 frames per second, or sometimes even 120 or 240 frames per second if it's a high enough resolution. The reason is, if you shoot it, like this one shoots at 50 frames per second and 5.1K, the Mavic 3. So if I shot with that, then I'm able to slow it down in post-production. Okay, so if I shot at 24 or 25 frames per second with this drone, and then I try to slow the footage down in post-production, I'm gonna be missing some frames in the shot. So the footage is gonna look choppy. It's gonna look like that. All right, it's not gonna be smooth. It's not gonna look right. So you can't really slow down the footage if you shoot at 24 or 25 frames per second. Sometimes you'll see my videos where I move it really fast and then really slow. It's the combination of that. You can't, it's harder to do that really at 24 or 25 frames per second. It doesn't look right because you don't have the extra frames to use, okay? So it's sort of like cutting hair. You need the extra hair. You can, if you already cut it off, you can't do anything. It's already gone. But if you have the extra hair, now you can do different things with it. Same thing with your footage. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but the extra frames, if you have 24 or 25 frames per second, you can't do much, okay? Hopefully that made sense. Let me see what else you said. What do you think of filming at higher frame rates? And regarding the rule of thirds. So the rule of thirds, yes, to keep everything in the thirds like this. I made some videos about this. You don't have to do that. The rule of thirds is helpful, but I made a video about it before. I don't have time to get into it, but really I like something called the triangle rule. I don't know what it's called. I just call it like the triangle, where you're looking for triangles in shots. Basically 3 points that connect, okay? Rather than rule of thirds, look at anywhere where you see a triangle in the shot at some point. That is what you want to do. That's what you want to look for in the shot. That will give you really cinematic shots. So can't get into that right now, but basically 3 points that connect in a shot forms a triangle. Look for those, okay? But rule of thirds is also helpful as well. Okay, so the last shot, without making this live stream forever, is you're just gonna take the 2 control sticks, do your move, and then you're also gonna use your gimbal, okay, to make it go up or down. Or like I said before, you could just use one of these control sticks and then use your gimbal dial here to move it up and down as you're flying in different directions, and experiment with that and see which moves you like. So the combination of your experimenting with the time of day that you shoot and the direction of the light, quality and quantity of the light. You're flying at different altitudes. You're flying really close to objects. You're also flying really high. And then you're also using your controller stick to do these different moves, both the basic with 1 stick, with 2 sticks, or it could be two buttons, because we'll include the gimbal dial, or even the zoom button. And then we're gonna go for 3 buttons, okay? 2 control sticks and one of the zoom in, zoom out, or the gimbal dial. Okay, does that make sense? So you work on those 3 things over the next week, okay? Do it at different times of day, do the same maneuvers different times of day, experiment different things. And then look at your footage and see which, this is the final thing, is you gotta look at your footage and see which one you like, all right? Which fits my personal style, all right? Once you figure this out, it's sort of like unlocking the key. Now you have the key and it opens up, and inside, that's your style. That's what you want to do. Just execute that, okay? And lastly, what I didn't mention, this is really important, just to take it to that next level, because I was talking about drone business this week. You want to do this in the particular niche that you're shooting. So when you're practicing all this, if you shoot real estate, practice this with shooting the homes that you want to shoot, luxury homes or whatever you want to shoot. If you want to shoot sports, practice this with shooting sports. If you want to do more like travel, landscape, nature stuff, practice that with this. So whatever your niche is, whatever you want to shoot, practice all these things for that particular niche or that particular subject or object that you want to shoot. Okay, does that make sense? All right, not sure if you mentioned, but what editing program works best for you? Okay, so there's a lot of different editing programs. Personally, I like Premiere Pro. I found Premiere Pro the fastest. It also has really small file sizes. So I can use Premiere Pro and have a ton of footage, especially now that I get the Mavic 3, all right, shooting in ProRes, and then it keeps the file sizes really small, and I also can edit super fast in it. So the organizational system and the file sizes are the main reason why I use Premiere Pro. Also has tons of plugins and it fits well with all the other Adobe apps, but especially using After Effects is a good one, so that's what I recommend. All right, Gene Try Drone says, thank you so much. All right, Stephanie Marsh, good to see you. All right, and Marcus says, would you generally just start in full auto or aperture priority? Okay, that's a good question. So, didn't mention this, but that's a good question to mention. So as we talked about shooting different times of day, you'll also notice that you need different filters on the front of your lens. Okay, so when you shoot around sunrise, sunset, you'll probably need an ND4, ND8, and ND16, okay, early in the morning. Then midday is more like ND32, ND64, or ND128, okay? So I usually keep ND4 to ND32, I would say 64. ND4 to ND64 is kind of what I use, but I'd say ND4 through ND16 is the most common. Now, when I'm doing real estate, one thing to keep in mind is when you're shooting drones outside, it's really good if you do this exercise, you're gonna figure out the feel and what you want, but shooting inside is totally different. So if you're shooting inside a building, that's a totally different thing. And that it really depends on the layout of the house and the windows, and there's just the design of the house. So shooting inside is totally different than shooting outside. So Gene Try Drone says, I have DaVinci Resolve. Okay, DaVinci, which is great. Yeah, that's a great editing software as well. That's really great for color grading. Probably one of the best. But personally, I just got used to Premiere Pro. I've heard good things about DaVinci. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? So yeah, you're also going to want to experiment with different ND filters. Okay. Now, most of these drones, in terms of aperture, you ask aperture priority, or I would try to shoot in full manual. Okay, get used to that. You could shoot in aperture priority, but the thing is, most of these drones, the aperture doesn't change. Okay, so the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 3, so the Mavic 2, Mavic 3, I can change the aperture in this drone. However, with the Air 2S, with the Mavic Air 2, with a lot of these other drones, it's only like a fixed aperture. So it's an f2.8 lens, so you can't change that. So because you can't change the aperture, there's going to be too much light after sunrise, and it starts, it starts getting brighter outside. There's going to be too much light in your lens, so you're going to need an ND filter. Okay, so that's the way it goes. Also, you want to make sure you keep your frame rate double your frame rate. Sorry, your shutter speed double your frame rate. Okay, so if you're shooting at, let's say you're shooting at 60 frames per second, you want to double your frame rate to 1/120th of a second. Now, for this experiment, you could just shoot at 24 frames per second, unless you're going to do some editing. Okay, that's up to you. 24, 25 frames per second is fine for this experiment. And if you're shooting at 24 or 25 frames per second, you want your shutter speed about 1/50th of a second, because 50 is double 24 or 25. It's about double. Okay, does that make sense? Gentry Drone says, I just upgraded my Mavic Air 2 to the Air 2S. Looking forward to trying for bigger sensor, 10-bit D-Log, but the weather is bad here. Yeah, well, you can still experiment with it. It's good to, why don't you try the D-Log shooting that, especially with the 10-bit. If the weather is not good, you could fly. I've flown my drone when it's snowing, when it's raining too, but you know, rain, you got to watch out. Also snow too. You can take it up a little bit and see how it is and then come and land it. Just make sure you keep the motors and the gimbal clean. But the Air 2S has enough propulsion. If it's just snowing lightly, you'll kind of whisk away the snow or the rain. But I wouldn't fly for too long in the rain. That's actually not a good thing. But you could try that out. All right, guys, hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you got some value out of this. So that's sort of your homework for this week. Shoot at different times of day, shoot at different altitudes, and use the different controller methods, okay? Any other questions before I go? It's gonna be a little shorter than yesterday, but any other questions? All right, get out there and do it. Experiment, see what you like, and I guarantee you in a week, if you do it a couple times this week, yes, it's really windy. Okay, so maybe you have to shoot early morning. Okay, so I said shoot at different times of day. So if it's really windy, you might have to shoot early morning because usually it's not as windy. Stephanie asks, what do I need to do to bet the little green dot on the screen to go away? Filter or setting? I'm not sure what you mean by the little green dot on the screen to go away. Filter or setting? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Stephanie there. Can you elaborate? What do I need to do to get the little green dot on the screen to go away? Filter or setting? Okay, so are you talking about, not sure exactly what you're talking about there, the little green dot. Let me investigate that. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. I should have brought my other controller, but I got this one, the new smart controller. Too windy, great for help, so good. Okay. Yes, fly early morning and fly low. Reflection? What do you mean by reflection? Okay, so let me see if I can get in here. I'm not sure what you mean by a green dot. So on the Stephanie, what are you referring to in terms of on your screen? You're just saying a little green dot. I'm not sure exactly what you mean there. If you could elaborate on that, I'll try to help you out, or send me an email, send me a message, and I'll try to get that taken care of. Yeah. But I would definitely use filters, use ND filters. If you're not using ND filters, I'll start using them. The ones I use are Polar Pro filters. And I've also used Freewell filters as well. Those are also good. So Polar Pro or Freewell are my recommendations if you're using filters. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we go? Great to see you guys today. I was a little tired, so hopefully I didn't put anybody to sleep, but hopefully you enjoyed this live stream. Reflection on the screen from the sun. Oh, okay, so is that what she's talking about? Stephanie talking about reflection? Yeah, what you could do is, often what I do is I find anywhere I fly, I just point the controller in the opposite direction of the sun and I usually can see it fine. Now, you could also buy a hood, or you could buy, you can make a hood actually out of cardboard. You could just make it, or you could spend, you know, $10, $20 on the hood, and that would work as well. But personally, whenever I'm flying, I just turn away from the sun or find a little shade. There's always a tree or somewhere, unless you're in the middle of the desert. just turn away from the sun, and that's one way I do it. Okay. Waiting for some of the variable filters for the Mavic 3. Yes, that's what Fly Guy Merrill says. Yeah, I'm sure there will be out. You see it on the photos. Okay, so you see a green dot on the photos. I'll get back to you, Stephanie, with that. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what's going on there with the photos. There is a little box for the focus, but in terms of a green dot on the photos, I'm not as sure exactly. Yes, send me a photo, I'll look at it, and I'll help you out, okay? Because I'm not sure, I have to see it to know exactly what you're talking about, but happy to help. Okay guys, that's it. I'm Brett Garamella, the Drone Pilot Pro. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Go out and do this. Improve your drone video this week, and a week from now, you'll be a lot better. Also, probably won't be doing as many live streams unless you want me to keep doing these. I don't know if you want me to keep doing these live streams, I'll keep doing them, because what I like to do, I like to keep uploading at least once a week with a normal video, because I've been doing more live streams than normal videos. So I would keep doing that. Fly Guy says, I think she's referring to shooting towards the sun. Yeah, just turn away from the sun is what I recommend. Also, two things for the channel I just want to mention. Yes, I'm going to start uploading more normal videos. So if you've been a member of the channel for a while and you're getting tired of my live streams, you want normal videos, I'm going to be making them higher produced videos. Okay, so if you enjoy those, I'll be doing more of those. I'm going to be trying to do at least one per week and release that every Saturday. Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is my goal. Okay, and then the other thing that I'm going to be doing, if it's all right with you, I wanted to add different videos, not just drone videos, but expand my channel to do more filmmaking and some other type of content. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know, and I'll keep making that. Of course, I'm always going to keep doing the drone stuff, but I might expand to filmmaking and some other editing and some other things as well. Okay, thanks for tuning in, guys.